And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 120 of the Sling'N podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm tired.
And I'm Frank.
I'm also Kent.
Yeah.
Bro, 120?
Yeah, 120.
How many times do you have to take your shoes off to count to 120? Holy shit.
I can't count that high. Of course, Kent immediately goes on mute while we're entering into the entry of the podcast.
I bumped my mic cord. I said, are we famous yet?
No.
No,
Not even
call me
close.
more famous.
Yeah, not even a modicum.
I mean, infamous maybe. Frank, what do you have? Is this this is fine, everything's fine going on behind you?
This is fine. Everything is fine.
Oh, everything's fine. Is that a representation of your current situation, or are you just being silly?
Well, I mean, we are going to be discussing your class, so I figured what better way to to talk about it than to say, no, this is fine. Everything is going wrong, but this is okay.
Whoa! Whoa!
I kid, I joke.
That's mean. I didn't know.
I don't know if that's a slide against you or whoever your AI was for that weekend.
Yeah, fucking sack. I didn't know we were going to talk about this until I saw it on Facebook this morning. What do you think of that?
What? What?
listen.
We talked about it this past weekend. I'm telling my other wife on you. And
Yo, bro, stand in line. She's got a long list of reasons.
right.
Moose here. Hi, Moose. Everybody wants
Old
to be
gray
naked,
man is here.
naked and famous. I like that.
Presidents of the United States of America. That's a good song.
Oh, my goodness. So, Mr. Ramsey. what's
Yes,
been
sir.
going on? How is you?
I'm good, man. Busy.
Mr. Ramsey.
Huh? Can you not hear me?
No, can we please teach me how to use computers? Is that a thing? I have
Just don't touch it. Just stop touching it. Just leave it the fuck alone. Hand check. Okay.
downrange.
No more touchy. Leave it the fuck alone. Anyway, been busy, man. So we got to get together finally and get my ass off the bench and back on the range teaching, or at least in a semi-moderate teaching capacity. And came up and taught your defensive pistol metrics. What was that? End of August?
Yep.
Yeah, so end of August we did that. And it was so nice we did it twice. And I was also able to simultaneously prove to our dear friends at Apache Solutions that I am not, in fact, Max Headroom. And I'm a real boy.
I don't actually, Frank, did you ever touch him the whole time?
The entire time.
Okay.
Like, you'd walk
it-
away, and I'd, like, wander
it was-
behind him and just, like, is he real? Like, is
It
this
was borderline.
actually-
It was borderline awkward.
The fact that there was a projector on four wheels rolling around being controlled by somebody on a hill had nothing to do with anything.
Not at all. See, and the thing is, you know, even in person, he's a lot smaller than you think he is.
He loves that. It helps him
You
so
make a
much.
fucking leprechaun joke.
Yeah, he loves it. He really.
I'm gonna
I don't know if you
I'm gonna
noticed.
fold you like a fucking piece of paper, Frank.
I don't know. Did you see Tim's kids? They got out the Lucky Charms for breakfast that one morning.
You're like
Fucking
passing him out.
TJ he shot out of bed so fast.
Well, they were my Lucky Charms.
Oh, Ginger Leprechaun joke was my favorite.
It is funny though, 'cause, you know, Joel Trey we've had on snapshots.go. Go give him a follow. That's snapshots with a Z, by the way. If I get out of the truck, they're already on the range, and he's like, "Wow, you're a lot shorter in person." Well, thanks, I guess.
Yeah, but you're built like a brick shithouse. You're just like, you know, you have a neck, but, you know, you walk around like this. Swole.
He is swole.
Yeah. I told you guys, I am the biggest knuckle dragger in the IT industry ever.
True enough. What about you, Frank? What have you been up to since they heard from you last?
Work. That's pretty much it. Work and some family stuff. Um, um, my son, he's been handling some, coughs and whatnot ever since he was born, and so we went to the doctor today and had some tests and such done. So he's in bed now, but he was running around a little bit earlier, like nothing ever happened. So that was all good. But yeah, working family stuff.
Man, I'll tell you what, watching our collective children's just tear ass around that place from one end to the other, that did my heart some good. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we'll get to it, but seeing Harper on the range, that did something for me.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta be honest with you, bud. I was thoroughly impressed. She behaved way better than any of the damn adults did.
Easily.
Such a good little girl, but you know what? You done good, Frank. You done good, brother.
That's all her mother's genes. So like, if it had anything to do with me, she would be like running around like an absolute, bat out of hell the entire time, which normally she is. I think she really took to heart what Kent said. As soon as we got there, Kent was like, "Little Miss Harper, come here. Let me talk to you for a second." Gave her the quick safety rundown, and sure as hell, she didn't follow it to the T. I mean, it worked out really well.
So I've been known to get a little fiery teaching that class, and when I saw you in the morning in your indescribable Bond villain vehicle that you showed up in once again, my heart sank, not because I was scared of having a kid on the range, because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna take it too far. I'm gonna say something a little more aggressive than I should in her presence or whatever. And I don't know where the line is with adults, so I for sure don't know where it is with little humans like that size yet. I haven't learned with my own son, and I'll tell you right now, man, I was nervous about that. I was afraid it would take something away from the experience, and all it did was add to it. And I really thoroughly enjoyed that. I was like, oh wow, I don't have to say anything. All I got to do is point.
Right.
Like if you're talking about working out your willingness, and you're talking about consequences, and you're talking about who are the X's and who are the 10s and who are the 9s. Look over there. What does that look like to you?
I think we need to back up. I think we need to. We're talking about the event, but we're not actually talking about like what the event was or what we're talking around. We're talking circles right now.
This is true. Stop being so smart. So most recently, the last time the three of us hung together was at Apache Solutions for my 2-day defensive pistol metrics class. You can go back, I don't know, 50 episodes, 40 episodes, and find one where the Apache people took over this show to talk about it to AAR at the last time, after action report the last time that I taught it down there for them. But this time, TJ got to come along on the range and do the helping hand thing. So we thought the three of us would come together, the people who kind of did most of the work and put it out there for folks. So we could talk through the experience of the weekend. It's kind of a cool thing to be able to do this. This is a phone call that would have happened at some point. A bunch of us would have jumped on the phone and done this anyhow. Generally, we just get to do it live for all y'all. So the three of us haven't even had this conversation yet. We haven't talked about much of anything from the class or anything like that, other than those nights hanging out afterwards. So should be a pretty interesting topic to go through. But anyway, so you let's see. So you got Little Miss Harper out on the range. How many? Before we go too far into class, we need to poll the audience. We get about 14, 15 people chiming in right now on the chat.
Mm-hmm.
What is Frank's Bond villain name? What is the deal with Frank? Like,
Average concealed carry citizen. That's all.
No, that's not your Bond villain name. Your Bond villain name has to be like Professor Stinky Pants or.
Oh no, I'm going to think of something, and it's going to have something to do with reaming something.
Okay.
Just Give me some time to think about it.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe Dean Graver or
We have the rest of the show to figure it out. By the end of the show, we'll come up with something.
right. But it is unanimously clear to me at this point, and everybody else I've talked to, that you are one of two things. You are either Algernon Krieger from Archer, right? The mad scientist dude who works for the spy agency, who definitely has a digital girlfriend and for sure doesn't have plutonium someplace. You're either that guy or you are a Bond villain.
Oh no, I'll give him Krieger hands down, man.
I'm just saying, dude. Like
I will give him Krieger hands down. Nope, no further discussion is necessary. He is Krieger. It's that.
Yeah, I mean, my man shows up in a different car. I've never seen Frank in the same vehicle. Ever.
Because you're only down for 2 or 3 days. It's not like
No.
So what you don't know, Ken, is
something different.
No, Frank legitimately, like, he times it for when you come down, but you think he has like this massive collection, like he's the Jay Leno of Apache Solutions, when in reality he just goes and rents a new vehicle every time you come down, just to have you think that he's the Jay Leno of Apache Solutions.
See, I got to keep up with appearances. That's exactly what it is. I have to look good for Kent.
I'm just saying. And every time I turn around, he's got a new robot that he's working on.
That's the Krieger in him.
Moving targets, right? He's like, every time I see him, he hands me something that's been like, here, I'll reach into here. He's just like handing me a lighter with like my logo on the one side and their logo on the other side. And he's engraving things, and he's may or may not be building all kinds of other nefarious objects in his basement at any given time. I'm just saying, bro, if you're not Krieger or a Bond villain, I don't know who else you are.
I think Derek put it. He said, "Let's see, just Frank." That works for me.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Ramus McAnus. That's pretty close. Derek Wright likes Krieger. Doc says all your shit's stolen.
All stolen.
Oh, now Moose is up in here like vouching for him. He's like, no, I keep a few of his vehicles. That's a thing.
It's because they're hot.
Because they're hot. What is that car? So tell me what I drove.
Hey, 1 second.
Okay.
If I unmute things. There we go. That was it's called a DF Goblin. So it started life as a Chevy Cobalt, and then it lost all of its body and became all rails, and we stuck all the Chevy Cobalt stuff on this rail frame thing, and that's what you get.
There was nothing about that vehicle that even remotely reminded me of a Chevy Cobalt.
Yeah, no, not anymore. But yeah, it's like I said, it's a lot of fun. It's that Harper calls it my little blue race cars, and Max calls it the blue race car. So that's what they like. I got a little kid seat, which you probably saw it on Saturday. But I got a kid seat that straps into a little 5-point harness.
Yep.
And they love riding around in that thing. So I can, get on it a little bit and let it push them back in their seat, and the wind. Poor Harper, she's an absolute trooper. She'll throw like a headband or something like that in, and her hair just flies all over the place. So when he stops, she looks like Einstein. But she enjoys riding around that thing, and I enjoy it. Candace has been out with me in it a few times. It's been a lot of fun. Trey has probably put more miles on that thing than I have collectively. Like he really enjoys playing around that thing. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I easily was like, I don't know how fast I was going. I just know what gear I was in before I hit the main road. I was full. I was like, oh my God, I'm not like, this is unbelievable. I'm friggin' in second gear, feeling like I'm going to get launched into the stratosphere in that thing.
So it's like 1,300 pounds. I mean, so it's super light. There's nothing special about it. There's just no weight to it. So because of that, you can feel all of it.
So it's a Chevy Cobalt engine.
Yeah, Chevy Cobalt, little 4-banger engine. Now it's supercharged, but
Yeah, let's qualify this with not only is it a Chevy Cobalt engine, it's a Chevy Cobalt engine that went through a transitional period and now has massive testicles.
yeah. So it's supercharged. So it's got a little, like 75 millimeter throttle body. Like there's been a little bit of work done to it, but it's not. Generally speaking, it's a Chevy Cobalt engine. I mean,
it's not like it's not like stroked out. Like you guys just bolted on. Yeah, it's you put some bolt-on parts to it, supercharger, probably better pulleys, whatever have you.
Yep.
But it's not like you tore the engine apart and rebuilt the damn thing.
Nope. That's somebody else's job.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's a cool little car, man. It is a dope little car. Kent, no. You already have a helicopter. Let it go.
I think Sophie needs a rail car. Like, so Sophie drove it, and she unfortunately I didn't bring it back on Sunday, but she was like, can I take it on the road? Can I go? Can I bring it? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then we ran out of time, but I think she needs a rail car, Ken. That needs to happen.
She won't come back. You'll never see her again. Remind me to tell you the story of the time we went 4-wheeling, like for the first time. Unbelievable. That woman,
it just disappeared on you.
If it's got a throttle, that son of a bitch is getting run wide open. Like,
nice.
Not even a question. So that was inexplicable. It's just the things like, let me count the vehicles that Frank has shown up to gun class in. There's the infamous tour bus, right? There's a box car kind of thing, like box van, box truck. There's a freaking high lift van jack thing, mabobber, pole picker, power company van for some reason.
Yeah,
you have a cherry picker?
Yeah, why not? Every IT guy does. Every legitimate IT guy does.
Moving on.
He's got a cherry picker, right? He's got a ragged out Chevy or Ford SUV, whatever that white freaking Escape or whatever he had, this little ragged out looking SUV that looks like it's been through 100 drug deals. He's got a rail car. So far, I think that's what I've seen. What else have I seen you in?
That sounds about right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And a lot of random. The cherry picker, the box van, and the bus.
And now every one of those has a story. Like Moose, you're not helping me. So the like that cherry picker, the bucket van. I got that thing for free. I didn't even pay for it, like not a dime out of my pocket. And so there's a story behind all of it. That was for being an IT guy is how I got that thing.
Okay, so
we'll tell the story another time.
So wait. So what you're saying is, like, somehow as Krieger, somebody agreed that if you wouldn't let the human soup out of the flask, they'd give you a cherry picker. That's what actually happened. They're like, please don't start World War IV. And in exchange, they give you a cherry picker.
There was an exchange, but it was an exchange server that involved all of
that. Okay. I get it.
He set up someone's email.
Right.
And got
stood
a
up
cherry
ransom,
picker.
whatever. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Right. He had pictures of a Taiwanese couple doing terrible things with a U.S. senator, and all of a sudden he's got a fucking tour bus and a cherry picker. That's what done happened.
Let's be clear, that's not ransom. That's just straight up extortion and blackmail.
Well, whatever it is.
Statute limitations on that. I don't know. I'm not sure this should be on the internet anymore.
Well, you could just go wipe it off the fucking internet whenever you please. So,
Oh, no. See, That's the one thing that IT people can't control. Once it's on the internet, it's for life or forever. It is more permanent when it's on the internet, for certain.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So
it's okay. Look, Frank, in 20 years, somebody's going to use this podcast just to cancel you. What happened to Frank? He got deleted.
Hopefully I'm living on a farm somewhere out in the middle of nowhere being, self-sustained. No problems, no issues there. We shall see.
Frank's on a spotting scope with an Apache Solutions cigar. Fucking, I could see him coming from a long goddamn way off. Perfect. All right. So, how do we want to frame this discussion about class? Who wants to lead besides me? Who wants to ask the questions? Who wants to deliver the questions? This is about our product.
Oh, Frank, what do you think? IT guys tag team the firearms instructor.
Sounds like a great idea.
I like it. Let's do that.
I'm here.
Well, I think that this is going to be one of the first questions, right? Because I know that you have been developing this course, and certainly you and I have discussed this content for quite a long time. I'd say well over a year, easily 18 months worth of development. Walk us, yeah, okay, so 2 years of development, even better. So what was the precipitating event that led up, like what begotten, what birthed your first step into developing this content in the first place?
It was really about the desire to bring two sides of my friend groups together. It was about a lot of tactical mill law kind of dudes, civilian dudes, whoever, who didn't want to come out and compete, and kind of the what can the competitive shooting mindset teach me that I can use in my everyday application was the question I kept. Because originally it was like, come on, dudes, come to a match. And they're like, fuck you. So I had to think through like, hey, how can I get these kinds of people, my friends, to come meet my other friends? Because it works both ways, right? Like, for example, when Timmy came up to teach up here, I took Timmy to an IDPA practice, and some IDPA cats got to watch Timmy run a gun real goddamn well. He is literally a tactical Timmy by every fucking like sense of the word, right?
I can feel him cringing right now. He's going to be watching this tomorrow, and I can feel him cringing.
Right, that's fine. He's a tactical Timmy. You know what? Old tactical Timmy did real well on their timer and did real well on their fucking scores too. So what the fuck? He's not a masterclass shooter in some competitive circle. Who the fuck is that guy? How do you learn all that crap? What does he do? Why does he do all that? Same question, but in reverse, right? So why do gamer shooters do the things they do? And it's really about the methodology of learning, not so much the actual like. See, everybody kind of misconstrues it to be about like, well, shoot faster and take more chances and run around like a crazy asshole with a gun in your hand. It's not really what we're talking about. What we're talking about is how do high-level competitors in any sport get better at it? We talk about bringing that methodology to defensive shooters. That's all.
Right.
And I'll admit, I was, 2 years ago, I was in that camp of, why am I going to be going to a game? Because that's what it felt like when my entire focus was on use of a handgun for defensive purposes. And it took really Kent to help, open my eyes a little bit and quell some of that pride, I guess, of this doesn't apply to me. And he was able to show me through that course and through some interpersonal time on the phones and everything to say but these metrics, these things they work hand in hand. They're not mutually exclusive to each other. Yeah, I mean there's ways of gaming anything, but at the same time it's only as much of a game as what you make it to be. So if my time on a particular stage is a little bit slower than somebody else's, but I'm using this particular type of skill the way that I know that I'm using it, I'm completely happy with that. I'm okay with that. I know my know where my skill set's at, where my limitations, and I can discover, or if I get frustrated with something, or something doesn't go quite right, I can use that to my advantage and learn from it and move on. And to be honest, Kent's one who helped share that to me. That enlightened me to that idea of thinking.
It's awesome, man. You've certainly grown as a shooter, and that's
Hey, this ain't about me. This is Kent's hour. So
no, it's really not though, because it's like think about how that type of growth translates to anything else that you already knew, right? That's the exact same mindset or approach that you would take business or IT stuff or personal development anywhere else in your life. That's how you would approach it. If there was somebody in the IT sector who was doing something that you thought was radically different than you, but that person was achieving results, you would at least have to look and go, isn't that fucking interesting? I wonder how similar and different we really are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, so you talked about, bringing that together. You spent, 2 years or so developing this program. Where did you get the concepts? Where did you, there's so many different things that you can teach. Why did you pick those specific skills that you teach in that course? And why'd you leave other things out? So, I don't, without getting too much out of your secret sauce or anything like that, like, why do you focus so much on certain things and then just kind of not worry about other things?
Sure. So the POI, the stuff that's in there is the stuff that I think, number one, that I think the tactical minded shooter is less likely to get anywhere else. Right. Like I really think that a guy who goes through 90% of the pistol programs being put on by SIG Academy, Thunder Ranch, Rangemaster, Apache, the usual high-end suspects, I don't think there's a lot of those programs that are talking a ton about throttle control, transitions, timing, and visual shot calling all in one soup. It certainly has a shitload of applicability in defensive shooting, but you're probably not going to get it in handgun 1, handgun 2, handgun 3, or handgun 4 from any major school.
Right, I agree.
Right.
So if I'm going to try to tie you into a competitive metrics-driven way of thinking, I have to lead you into some places where I'm like, why can't you apply this to your own use case? And these things follow those mindsets and follow those teaching paradigms pretty closely. So that's why I chose what I chose. I mean, listen, the draw stroke, right? The draw stroke is the thing that people focus so much time, effort, and energy on, but they don't really break it down. They don't really chunk it into individual skill sets. They don't have a dry fire plan to fix it. Their whole plan is set a timer at 1 second and swear at themselves in their basement for a year until they figure it out. Right? Why not apply a football coach's point of view or a golf swing coach's point of view or a ski instructor's point of view to being like, hey, why not learn this in a process that's repeatable and that's you can put into an algorithm and figure out how to do it better. Right? The zeroing and precision shooting stuff is there's no conversation about it. You can either do this or you can't. I'm giving you all the time on the planet. You can either hit that shit or you can't. Right? If you can't hit that shit after you draw a gun, if we can't prove to you that you can hit that shit with some serious repeatability, I guess my question to you is, why are you focusing on all the other things you're focusing on? If you can't draw a gun effectively and then turn around and get it to hit exactly what we're trying to hit, I don't know, man. Like, what else are you working on? Shot calling? For me, that's all about I think defensive shooters shoot with too much follow through. And I think that competitive shooters don't shoot with enough fucking follow through. I think there's a middle ground. I used to not be able to find it. I used to either be snatching my gun back like it owed me money and moving on to something else, or I used to be standing there going 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, confirmed. 1 shot, 2 shot, 3 shot, confirmed. And the word confirmed could have been another shot halfway through a movement, a reload, or any goddamn thing else I had to do. but I was too busy confirming things on my sites.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that I discovered in through my practice and trying to figure out what that middle ground is. Can be a challenge. Especially if you're trying to go one way or the other. Just like you said, if you have that more defensive mindset, every projectile's got a lawyer attached to it. If you go more of the gaming side, it's I'm not fast enough. I need to go faster, and then let me shave off another a tenth of a second, so I can best the next guy next to me. So I mean, it's just trying to put yourself in that right mental place and stay there is be consistent. There's a lot to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I'm curious about too, though, as you finish this thought, just to prep you for the next for the next question, what ended up on the cutting room floor?
Oh, sure, man. Holy crap. This could be a 5-day class. I think all of us that have an outline that have ever built something have probably started with a 5-day class, right?
Okay.
And it's unrealistic. Like, people can't give you that much of their lives. Fuck the money. People can't give you 5 days. Like, especially not the target market, who's like my civilian gun-toting buddies. Some law enforcement departments maybe, but even that, it's hard to take a guy off the street for 5 days. So really only super wealthy retired people like Doc are going to be able to take 5 days and come to a pistol class. So the rest of us, the weekend's what we get. So stuff that came out on the cutting room floor was automaticity and manipulations and malfunctions throughout a stage. Like I used to intentionally induce failures in people's guns with dummy rounds and other things and make them complete a stage or courses of fire and fix malfunctions and manipulations. And what I found was that it detracted from the learning of the throttle control, the consequences, the shot calling, and everything else. It detracted from that learning a little bit. And also, unfortunately, it fucking took forever. So now what should have taken 30 or 45 minutes took an hour and 40 minutes. And you got people standing out there in the squelching heat, dying, while Kent's going, we're going to get another rep of this. And everybody else is like, fuck you, Kent. Like,
Right.
We don't need to do that. Right. So that's kind of not necessarily what you want to be dealing with.
Yeah, on the other side is, everybody, just like you said before, every training company and, under the sun teaches something like that.
Sure.
So, how many times did we see something like that happen this, last weekend, and people just took care of it?
Yep.
I mean, there's some exceptions to that, obviously, the ones who may not have had, that kind of training yet or something like that. But, that's pretty common. I mean, those kind of things are, I feel like they're a dime a dozen with a lot of local training companies with a lot of, different mindsets behind it. We're not going to get into that, but generally speaking, how to keep your gun up and running is a regular go-to. Yeah,
it's pretty high on the list of stuff that gets taught a lot of places. I just kind of think like if I'm doing the same like general curriculum or POI that everybody else is doing. Now it's also the other side of this is you could try to get too mad scientist and try to like, I got to be so much different than everybody else. That can be dangerous. That could be no shit dangerous. But if I'm going to give you a different perspective and try to get you to think a little differently, I probably shouldn't run the same curriculum that everybody else runs in the same order. Right. So I picked if you look at the topics that we picked, draw stroke, zero confirmation, precision, shot calling, throttle control, movement consequences, and the range presentation piece for the first day. Then we picked mini stages, welcome to Walmart, consequences drill for the second day, right? So wake up, record all the times, push people through all the metrics, then get them right away into a freaking, mini stage kind of thing where we work on all the different aspects of TD1. Then we do the welcome to Walmart thing to make sure we get people's minds right before we send them off into the streets carrying a gun. Hopefully not having fucked them up worse or allowed them to feel like they can get away with more than they should. And remembering the 4 rules. And then we get them into the consequences drill at the end and the 25-yard B8s to be like, hey, what are the most important things that we talked about on this whole weekend? Was the damn draw stroke, precision, and PID. If you don't have a draw stroke, you fucked. If you don't have precision, you're fucked. If you don't have PID, everybody else is fucked. So we're trying to get you to leave there thinking that way so that when you drive away from the range, you've got a level of confidence build up, but at the same time, you're not. If I sent you away from the day after lateral throttle control, where you just burn down a stage at 12:01, and that's the Frank that rolls into the Walmart when the shit goes real, that Frank is very likely to take a whole lot of compromised sight pictures, do a shitload of guillotining and backplating, probably not PID much of anything, and God knows what the fuck's going to happen. That's my fear anyway. Now, I happen to know that's not a problem for Frank because I know Frank's put in a shitload of reps on everything else to where how I leave Frank on the end of TD2 on defensive pistol metrics is probably not going to change his outcome. I know Frank. I don't know every dude who's going to show up to this class, and I don't know their level of experience and skill set. There was at least one gentleman on the line this past weekend who I wouldn't have wanted to send him away with that as his last thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
That's kind of where that comes from. I've heard very correct, very poignant, constructive criticism about that you always want to leave your students on a super high note. Like you don't want to demoralize people and then send them away. And I'm just kind of accepting that with the understanding that I'm just trying to give you a dose of reality.
I don't think you're necessarily forcing. I don't think you're compromising by making, So at the end of TD2, how well you perform at the end of the day has everything to do with you personally as a shooter. So if you perform, poorly, with just to say, negating fatigue and things like that. That should be for the shooter, it should be hey, maybe I really do need to focus on these 3 core things, the draw stroke, the PID, making sure that I'm able, my marksmanship fundamentals. I don't think you're compromising that by, sending people out, on a low note or anything like that. I mean, I understand why you place things where you placed them, but, if anything, I would feel like it'd be more of maybe a little bit of a wake up call to some,
Yep.
if you're not able to hit these particular targets with a very liberal, time frame, then what else why are you trying to focus on other more, move and shoot type skills? Why, maybe you need to spend a little bit more square range stuff and really, drill down on those fundamentals.
If you think about it, within an hour, we go from 10 seconds to shoot 9 targets, right?
Yeah.
To fucking 10 minutes to shoot the same target 30 goddamn times and then transition to do something else pretty quick afterwards and draw the gun and go to 25 seconds.
Right.
What throttle control appears on the POI numerous places for a reason. Like that's why we talk about throttle control so much and we talk about the shot calling so much and all those other things. Like if you look at my metrics from the weekend, I put down a 101 or 102 draw stroke demo. I did a 97 25-yard B8. I did a 95% consequences, an 1176 lateral throttle control, right? And like welcome to Walmart for me isn't a thing because I fucking, set it up, right? But if you look at being able to demo and teach this course, you may not be a 10 in every category, but you're a fucking 9.5 across the board, or maybe a 9, or however you want to judge it. Because I'm trying to make a very well-rounded shooter out of this. And we did. If you look at our metrics and our numbers, we had a lot of point something or 1-0 something draws. We had an awful lot of above 90% on consequences. Freaking Tim Kelly's wife out B8'd me by one shot, as it turns out. Right? Homegirl shot a 98 that day. If you don't know what a 98 B8 looks like, it's every bit of damn near perfect shooting from 25 yards. Right?
If it were at a carnival, you'd win yourself a teddy bear.
Yeah. Well, that's going in the notes.
A big teddy bear. Not one of them little
ones. Next time, if you think I'm not saying that tomorrow at my private lesson, you're on drugs. I'm stealing that shit. That's fantastic. And then you end up in a place where you roll all that together. If you're in the high 90th percentile, if you're anywhere between a 95 and 100% of every one of those metrics, fuck off. I got not a lot to say to you about your shooting. It's time to talk about decision-making, teaching, and how to improve those next couple of points on yourself. We're really pretty much done with the, hey man, grip the gun like this, do that. Like we're at a spot where we're feeling pretty good. And then,
right.
and, funny enough, like my demos this past weekend, I don't think I had a single demo that didn't have a malfunction in it.
Right.
Other than a one-shot draw stroke, because fuck that terrible ammo. Did that negatively impact the demos and the performance? Nope. Sometimes life just is that way, and you just move on and you do your deal, right? So when students, a lot of the things that we have a tendency to focus so much time, effort, and energy on, they come organically to like a level 2, level 3 pistol shooter. Like if it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, by the time you're at Handgun 102 at SIG Academy, if you can't fix malfunctions, you're going to have a long weekend. You're going to have a very long weekend, right? So I guess I could be the 30th voice that they hear saying that same shit. Or I could focus some time where quite honestly, some of this stuff I've only ever heard explained either by Tim Heron, or in some ways Jedi. I haven't heard too many other guys spend this much time on lateral and vertical throttle control at the same time. I've got you moving laterally while controlling your throttle vertically at the same time in a shot string.
Right.
Quick, careful, precise on steroids. Is Tom Givens not capable of teaching that? Or does Tom Givens just have 20 dudes on the line that he has to get through a class? And if you tried to do that with them, they might all murder each other in the process.
Right.
I'd say the latter, right? I've just figured out a way to integrate it into that POI. That's all.
And and a credit to you and really TJ too. The setup on things like that. I know Kent, I know you really, put the thought behind that, but TJ was the one doing all the work as far as getting things set up and making sure that the range was safe, making sure the targets were paced properly. Like TJ did a hell of a job AIing, but a lot of that thought and a lot of the focus you have going on the POI really had to do with making sure that appropriate targets were selected and then all the angles were correct and getting everything set up properly. So I mean that went over like gangbusters as far as the thought placed into the exercise, the drill, the stage, however you want to put it, and every single time. There wasn't a single time where like, I'm not sure about this. No, it all worked out really very well. And yeah, just like Doc says, thumbs up to the ginger. Like it worked out really well.
It's a lot, right? Like this course requires a lot of fast whiteboarded moves. It's like, do that, please. To be able to say that to somebody and then turn your back on him while you're delivering teaching and coaching and motivation and, patting people on the asses and talking to them about their guns and answering their questions. And then you turn around and look at the range and it's like, that's exactly what I would have done. To within fucking like inches to where it's not worth talking about. Like you could easily be that dickhead who's like, no, that's not perfect. I need it perfect. But you look around and you go, that's pretty damn good to me. I think we're going to go with it. Like that works.
Well, and on the other side of that is, you as the instructor, the lead instructor for the class was clear with what your instructions were. You left no room for error. I'm constantly looking at how my role on the range when I'm not in a lead instructor role is in AI. Like I'm helping. I'm feet on the ground. I'm posting up targets. I'm doing that. So I'm constantly listening to the communication styles between like leads and AIs and kind of, you can tell the ones that have worked together for a long time because, they just have a flow. They don't even have to say anything. It just works. And you have ones that haven't worked nearly as well together, but they're good communicators. So you can say what I want, how I want it, when does it need to happen, and it just happens. Unfortunately, I've also been on the line where the lead instructor wasn't a phenomenal communicator, but they've been doing it for 900 years. So, there's a certain expectation that the AI is going to do it the way that they would do it. Maybe not. So there's, there's a little bit of give and take there. And and that just goes to the relationship that you guys have. TJ, you said this was your second time with Kent, second time taking this course?
Not just taking it, but also, AI in it, right? So when I went through it the first time up at the home range for Kent and PA, he put me through the course. It was a bit of a 50-50, right? He was really helping me knock the rust off, not just from a teaching perspective, but also really just getting behind the gun and going through the courseware. Is the rust apparent? Absolutely. Like, guys, let's be clear here. These are perishable skills.
Absolutely.
It's real easy to look at folks like Kent and Frank and the rest of the guys and gals that we've had on this podcast. They're like, oh yeah, well, yeah, they're all so good. They're crazy for how often they train. Like, how there's got to be a law of diminishing returns. At what point are you just wasting time? And the reality is you're never wasting time.
No. Yeah. Right.
Abandon bad reps, but you have to keep the skills sharp. And that's one of the things that I really appreciated about this class. And look, is this class, are you going to walk away from this class being the best damn shooter on the planet? Absolutely not. And there's no class on the planet that can make that claim. I feel that this class, however, of all of the different courseware and critique that Kent and I have reviewed and interviewed for, this is the only one that I'm aware of when you actually walk away with quantifiable, documented metrics that establish your baseline. Good shooter, awesome shooter, mediocre, borderline bad shooter, right? To use the air quotes, right? Maybe you really suck. As long as you're safe, right? We all have to appreciate there's going to be like a worst shooter of the day. But the reality is that you're walking away from this. That's your baseline as of that moment and point in time. You now have something that you can go forward and practice against to get better. Right? Yeah. You and I spent 2 days with Jedi's class, right? I knew, just because I'm very self-aware of what my deficiencies might be in a given task or topic, I knew at least a couple of things that I needed to work on. But I didn't have a no shit like, oh my God, this is every drill that we did that was worth a shit, that was worth documenting. It wasn't just a warm up or a practice or a micro drill. I walked away with a list of scores and metrics that I can now go compare to. And if you're paying attention and playing the home game, you get the micro drills that you can go to continue to build on those. Right? You're not walking away with like, okay, well, yeah, my 20-yard B8, my consequences drill sucks. Okay. You also, leading up to that point, went through the stepping stones or the gates, if you will, to build up to that. Like you actually walk away with tangible understanding of what you need to do to have a better consequences drill.
Yeah, absolutely. And adding on to that, you also need to have the presence of mind to understand, what you've done previously during the day, what you're good at, acknowledge what you're good at, and have the intestinal fortitude to be able to say, okay, these are the things that I really suck at, and these are things I should probably take some criticism on, or some further education on, or try and figure something out.
Emotional intelligence is the words that I like to use for that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's easy to get frustrated at something, and stay frustrated at something. I screwed that up. This past weekend, I had one. I was shooting. I felt really strongly about this particular drill. I felt like I was shooting it phenomenally. I finished up a little bit earlier. I went and sat down, and I was watching the line. I'm looking at my target. I was talking to somebody, and all of a sudden I start seeing holes appear on my target. I'm thinking, I didn't do those. I know I didn't do those. Oh, look, there's more holes. Somebody's shooting my target. And at that time, I could have gotten really, butt hurt and angry over it. I didn't. It's a drill. It's no big deal. But the other party who was shooting at my target, after he was notified and we walked down there and looked at it, he was all bent up over it. And I was like, man, don't worry about it. It happens. I'm not no concerns at all. But I have seen people get absolutely livid over stuff like that. I mean, just lose their shit because they've I don't know, wasted their time or something like that. I'm like, man, you're doing it for the wrong reason then. You're not doing it for you as the shooter. You're not putting, I know what I did and I feel confident in what I did, but I don't need validation from anybody else. I know where my deficiencies are. Sometimes it's nice, but it's not a requirement. And, seeing that firsthand and like, I guess what I'm trying to say is not getting like sucked into the either frustration or getting sucked into the, on the other side of that, the look at me syndrome, like, give me all the validation because I'm an awesome person. It can go poorly both ways. And I think a lot of people, especially in, the training industry, really get sucked into that. They get the whole, praise me because I'm a god with this particular broomstick, or I'm horrible, I'm trash. Maybe I should put this down and not worry about this.
Yeah, it's interesting how. So one of the things that I've really taken from the people who I value the way that they provide mental coaching and mental feedback is that the people who I think do it best, number one, don't feed into either one of those. So if you got a person who is a rock star, going over there when it's time for them to shine and going, hey, everybody, this guy's a fucking rock star, doesn't help. And if you got somebody on the other end of the line who's like, I hope this person doesn't shoot me when I beat the timer, like accidentally or otherwise, this could get real nasty. Let's see what happens, right?
Right.
You don't walk down there and go, all right, now, buddy, listen, like, it's gonna be okay. Like, you don't feed into either end of that. So little things, and it like none of this is 100% my idea. Most of it is my adaptation of other really good ideas. But how many times have you guys seen in a gun class where when it's time to record individual scores, the person starts on the left and goes all the way to the right, or the person starts on the right and goes all the way to the left and never skips around? I skip around, dude. I'm going shooter 1, shooter 6, shooter 3, shooter 8, shooter 9, shooter 1, shooter 3. I'm intentionally moving around because I know that shooter number 4 is all up in his fucking head right now. And if I walk up and beep this bitch on him, he's going to fuck it up. Right. So I'm going to move past him to shooter number 7, who's cool, calm, collected, confident, drove here in his rail car, could give a fuck, and his little girls are around. And I'm gonna bypass one dude to go to a guy like Frank, who I'm like, Frank's performance isn't going to change if you do him first, last, or anywhere in the middle. He's either going to get it or he's not. It's all going to be about his own mental performance and his level of focus in that moment. Doesn't matter when I beep the beeper. To another guy who was like, fuck, I'm third. And like, I literally walk towards that dude and keep walking past him. He's like, ah, ah. And he's just like you can tell he's like losing it. He's like, God damn it. And then for a minute he goes, and right when I catch him breathe like that, I just go over and go, all right, cool, ready? Stand by. And he's like, God damn,
I got to observe that firsthand multiple times. I loved it.
Isn't that awesome?
The
well, see, if we bounce back and forth. I that's something that I noticed from the first class that I AI'd with Kent. Was I looked at it from a slightly different perspective, and maybe that's just me trying to refine my eye for those sorts of things, trying to catch that anxiety. Personally, I want that anxiety to be there, right? I want to see you at your worst, and I'll kind of go into a little bit of a soapbox for this as well, because it speaks to the competitive versus the tactical Timmys of the world, you know, in the negative context, not our beloved Timmy of Apache. But I see those guys and gals that are at the other end of the line. If someone's always starting on the far right and they're always last, they're like, I don't want them to think that they're an afterthought, right? Oh, well, they finally got to me because I just so happen to be on this side, right? If we bounce around a little bit, it kind of helps spread that love around a little bit. It makes them feel like they're actually being paid attention to. But yeah, that anxiety is important. I would submit that there's 3 levels of stress inoculation. The lowest level, of course, is just flat range training. You know, maybe you're running a drill, you're working your B8, right? Frank, imagine, if you will, that nice Saturday where you just go out, you're hanging with the dudes. Maybe you're going to run, you know, the 3/7 drill from tier 1, or just shoot at B8s, or just screw around, right? There's that low level, almost no stress. But you're still getting good reps in.
Yeah, the only stress you have is, you know, you're performing in front of your peers. That's it.
Right. Yeah. By the way, trying to zero a pistol in front of you motherfuckers. I showed up and I've got like Derek, Dan Brady, God, I can't remember who else was there. Trey was there.
We call that Friday. Like,
yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey guys, I've got to zero. I still need to zero this gun in. And they're like, yeah, no pressure, go ahead. And they're all just like staring at me. I'm like, I can
judging your literal every move.
Right.
Just a bunch of like.
Oh no, it wasn't even that. It was sexual advances, almost nonstop. Really made me feel welcome and one of the team or a member of the family. But yeah, it wasn't bad. Right, it was all in good fun. It was jovial, and it was a pleasant experience all around. As soon as the restraining orders get signed, it'll be more pleasant. But then you have like the extreme level from a training environment. The highest level that I believe you can probably get to is, you know, force on force type training. Right, 2-way range essentially. Sim rounds go down range. Sim rounds come back up range. You have a known thinking sentient target that you're working with. Then there's that place in the middle, which is where the competition is, right? And that's the thing that's always kind of bugged me about the guys that are the diehard, you know, stereotypical and negative connotation tactical Timmies that refuse to go get their gamer on because it's a game to them. Like, no, I beg to differ. When you've got a squad of people that are watching your performance, and the great neuralizer that goes beep really loud goes off in your ear, that's the middle ground, right? Don't worry about, you know, it was outside the waistband holster or whatever. I mean, hell, Kent's been competing from appendix before it was allowed in competition. He was like, fuck you guys. I'm here to compete. You don't have to score me with every. Give me a DQ. I don't care, but at least track the score so I have those metrics to walk away with, right? I approached it in the same manner. Now, I still wore outside the waist. I wore appropriate equipment, but at the same time, I appreciated the competition style because it was, again, short of force on force training, it's probably the closest thing you can get to a stress inoculation. Because rest assured, there will be plenty of stress in a real world shooting scenario.
Yeah, competitive shooting definitely brings out the so when you listen to SOF guys when they're interviewed and they ask some of the hardest things they've ever had to do, guys talk about murder boarding and public speaking as being worse than fucking life or death fights. People really, really, really hate peer pressure and judgment from an outside third party. Maybe even more than they hate their own mortality sometimes. So the nature of competitive shooting is such that from the time you rolled up to the range this morning until the time you leave, every single thing you did was recorded, data mined, practice scored, and is now available for every other person who was with you to go read, judge, and decipher whether they even watched it happen or not. Imagine the argument between a husband and a wife, right? Like, I'm a better driver. No, I'm a better driver. No, I'm a better driver. What if you had a fucking literal black box in the front seat that was like, nah, bro, you ran 11 red lights. California rolled 17 stop signs. There's a dead hooker on the corner of Progress and 13th.
There's a J tag in that black box too. We can fix that.
You know what? Right, of course. I bring up something to like help humanity, and Frank's already figuring out how to fucking hack it. Go figure. But like, you get what I'm saying, right?
Compromise. Yeah, no, for real. I mean, having that data to be able to go back and compare yourself to other shooters, that's literally going to be out there for the rest of eternity as far as the internet's concerned. It's an absolute valuable tool. If used appropriately. Like anything, you can get. I can go through and compare myself to anybody else, and go stroke myself off. But that's not the point. The point is, okay, well, this person did this particular, drill or whatever you may want to call it, scenario, 3 seconds quicker than I did. How? Or they're more efficient with completing this particular goal. How? Okay, maybe I need to apply that myself. It's a way of being able to go through and go tit for tat with people and use it to your advantage to make you really force you to become better.
Yeah, it's so while we're talking about stroking people off, we should probably mention that you took top shooter. We should say that.
I was trying to avoid that.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. But one of the things that really struck me about this particular group of shooters was that as I was writing these feedback emails to people, I was reading all the individual metrics so that I could recap them for folks. For the top 8 or 9 of 11 shooters, any given number was within single-digit percentages of each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Like so when you look at the extreme spread on the B8, look at the B8. I demoed a 97. Teresa Kelly shot a 98. Tim Kelly shot a 94, I believe. I've got way too many screens open. I'm not actually looking at the real numbers right now. So, if I'm off by 1 or 2, don't lose your mind. All the way down the list, 9 people deep. Nobody shot below an 89.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, let's be clear about that.
Below a fucking 89 on a 25-yard B8, except for 2 people who weren't sure they even belonged there until they got to hang out and realized they did. Right. And then people didn't shoot 40s. They shot freaking 85s and 86s.
Right.
Fucking holy shit. But the top 7 or 8 of the people in the class scored above a 90. Mm-hmm. The whole extreme spread was 11 points on a B8 at 25 yards. Go to Pick a Gun Range USA. Put a B8 up at 25 yards. Pick a guy with a pistol and 10 rounds in it. If you'll bet $1,000 on an 89 or better, you're going to leave with some money most of the time. Like most of the time. 99.9999999% of pistol shooters can't sniff at an 89 B8 at 25 yards if their life depends on it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, hey, man, was there improvement in class from TD1 B8 to TD2 B8?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure. 2 or 3 or 4 points. I didn't meet somebody at a 30 B8 and turn them into a 95. That's not the claim I'm making. What I'm saying is that in these higher level classes, if you're going to put yourself out there as a student in a class like this, and you're actually capable of achieving most of the baseline metrics, and you're just looking for some refinement or tune-up, comparing yourself to the next guy on the line is like, dude, any given Sunday, any of 5 or 6 or 7 people in that class could have easily taken top shot, if not for 1 or 2 different things that could have went the other way for them if they'd have got another crack at it.
Yeah, so, I think it's worth mentioning too that while there were those 9 shooters that were all within a point or two of each other, there were no bad shooters at all on that range this weekend.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like the idea that you would compare yourself that like Timmy and Frank would be like, oh fuck, like, you know, Frank took top shooter on it. Dude, that one round that goes into the 8 ring instead of goes into the 10 ring, and we're having a different conversation the other way. It's that close. Like the metrics and the numbers, when you really look at them, are like, wow, these people are all within. It's like looking at the top 10 in a given pistol match. You know, I came in 4th and Josh came in 3rd. Like, nobody whooped my ass. It's you're within points. Now there are some days where, you know, holy crap, the guy in 1st versus the guy in 8th, you know, the top 10 in that, the guy in 1st might have beat you by 2 or 3 seconds, which sounds like nothing until you realize it's an eternity, when everybody else is judged by tenths and hundredths and, you know, 1 shot here, 1 shot there. But in a pistol class environment like this, man, nobody needs to be leaving hanging their head. Nobody needs to be like, oh, man, I got my ass whooped out there. It's like, by who?
Right.
Friggin', every one of you was pretty damn squared away, right?
Yeah, it's a competition with yourself, not with the other shooters on the line.
And that was the other cool thing about the class was, you know, and you know, I know, like, you know, most of the class was Apache cadre. You know, we're constantly coaching each other and coaching others and teaching others and, you know, doing our thing. But, you know, up and down that line, there was, you know, aside from, you know, I was screwing with Tim a little bit on you know, both TD1 and TD2, but, you know, there, I mean, everybody was really encouraging. So, you know, somebody would be up there and going, hey, you know, such and such, you know, good job, or hey, I noticed this while you're shooting, or something like that. Like, there was a lot of, like, you know, pat on the back saying, you know, good job and keep it up. I mean, it was a really encouraging environment, you know, which helps. But, you know, yeah, at the same time, you know, you still have a little bit of that stress. You still have a little bit of that, all right, well, you know, this is a guy that pays the bills. I need to make sure I do all right, you know, as, you know, Timmy or somebody's walking down the line. So, you know, like I said, it's all good. It all works out really well.
Well, and sometimes you just need that, like the moment, like, and everybody's got everybody's got their shit that they're just like, oh, I know this is going to work out for him. Like, I know this is going to work out. Right. So, you know, the fact that the dude on the far right of the line bested the instructor by a 10th on a draw stroke demo. Okay. I'll tell you right now, though, when we got a little schnasty and we started pushing speed and we started really letting dudes go, not even for record, just like, hey, I want you to go at like 15% harder than you think you're capable of.
Right.
and old Timmy's down there in the 7s. It's pretty hard for the whole rest of the line not to just go, the fuck was that?
Right.
Like if you don't have that moment, you're ridiculous. Like, what are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like I'm out here lying to motherfuckers. I'm out here taking a 10th off the timer and not telling you.
Yeah.
And you're still beating it in dry fire. So then I get in front of you and I give you a license to let the cougar out a little bit. And old Timmy's down there like, all right, Frank, you want to see some shit? Fucking, what's
Wears it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, he shoots it and he kind of like, he holsters, he grins, he looks over at me. He's like, I saw a little bit of the dot. I'm like, yeah, the fuck you did. Yes, you did see a little bit of the dot, you monster. And he kind of is like, all right, now go away because I can't do that shit twice. Get the fuck away. Go somewhere else.
Yeah,
But,
no, that was, it was really, if nothing else, it's really impressive to see. It's really impressive to be able to go, dang, if I literally blinked, I would have missed the entire string of fire.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's, sub-seconds is definitely a goal of mine. That's not, I'm not athletically inclined, doing, working on footwork and things like that have all been, goals of mine. And, over the past year, I've always said, my comfortable place, the place where I know without a shadow of a doubt I can knock it out, regardless of, I don't want to say regardless of distance, generally speaking, is about a 1-2. And, dry fire has really helped me bring that number down. That's getting me close to that goal of that sub-second draw. Not that I need it, but, I feel like that's a goal I want to have. I want to be consistent and having that mechanical, that's just a personal goal. And, being able to do that in a class in front of other people helps reinforce what I've been working on. I'm not there yet, but, this class helped me, verify the things that I've been doing in dry fire and, above and beyond. So, a little bit of secret sauce on Kent's side, so he offers this, this dry fire regimen. Anybody who's an alumni in his courses can say, hey, Kent, this is what I'm wanting to do. This is my goals. This is where I'm at. This is my data. Help me. And he'll go through and create this entire regimen for you, and you can stick with it or not and do whatever you want to do. But, for me, when I asked him, gosh, what was that? Beginning of the year? Yeah, January, something like that, January, February. That has, it's time for me to switch it up, but that has done nothing but help me. And I had proof, I can show that now. And, there's absolute merit to, the adage of, what you do, live fire is to be used to verify what we've done in dry fire. Well, if you're not dry firing, you're just, sure, you can get better, but not nearly as fast as if you would be, if you actually dry fire. But, it's worked out very well for me, and I can tell in others that it's working out well for them. When we're on the range with students or something like that, you can tell the ones that dry fire, and then you can tell the ones that don't. The ones that don't are marginally, if any at all, better than what they were last time you saw them, and the ones that dry fire are significantly better than where they were the last time you saw them. So, I think the dry fire is absolutely underrated.
So with the remaining time that we have, right, Kent, one of the things I'm curious about, where does this class go from here? Do you see it being further developed, further refined, adding something to it, replacing something? What do you see yourself doing with it, say, a year from now?
I could see adding a third day in the markets that it makes sense. I could see I could see adding a third day, and that third day would be very dry fire heavy. I could see genuinely a whole day of the entire curriculum dry fire. I would love that. I'd go full quagmire on that. Whether I get anybody to buy it or not, I have no idea, but I'd be all giggity about it.
Wouldn't it be some shit to do like testing TD1, dry fire TD2, and TD3 is nothing but testing again?
Yeah,
That would be pretty.
Right. I mean, nothing like a proof of concept, right?
Yeah, I don't know if anyone would buy it, but that'd be pretty cool.
Nobody's gonna buy it, right? I already hear enough of guys like, the round count. And I'm like, look, do you want to learn? Frank, how many rounds did you shoot?
Over the weekend?
Yeah.
I don't know, 800 or so. Most of those are Timmy's, so.
Right. Right. So your outline says 1,000 rounds, and I only shot 750. I know. I told you to shoot every one of them. I can count. I know how many mags you used. Like, it shouldn't be too hard to figure, but like the extra 250 or 300 rounds that you might shoot in a different course, if I could get you to devote that much mental energy to a half an afternoon, if I get fucking 4 hours of dry fire out of you, man, I'd love it. Right. So I could see it going there. I'd like to get it post certified or NLEFIA or whoever. I'd like to have it be accredited for law enforcement use at a department level. So I'd like to see that happen to where a group of cops and like, let's be clear, a decent sized number of cops have taken this already, but I'd like for them to be able to get paid to come to it and to get accreditation hours from various state law enforcement agencies. I'd like to get it accredited in that way. So that's something I'm interested in.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Didn't mean to interrupt.
That's cool. So I'd like to see that happen. I'd like it to. I'd like it to end up in. I'd like it to end up in a format where I could go someplace and maybe teach private lessons the day after class. That's the other thing that I think would be really cool. Like, hey, now that we just did this, if you can possibly spare a Monday and meet me on the same range, what else can we get out of you? That worked for Josh Cook and Derek Watkins. That worked going the other way. I work with those dudes the Friday before class. They were all tuned up and ready to rock for Saturday morning. So if
I remember, Josh cranked out a sub-second draw. That on TD1 doing that.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Sure did. I wrote him down in my little journal. Yeah, fuck yeah, man. I was all proud of that one, of course, right?
Yeah, I think there might be something to that as well, right? If we can agree that, not to be diminutive, right? I think we all understand, and it's been mentioned on this podcast numerous times, the value of dry fire. But with dry fire people being reluctant to go to a dry fire clinic, if you will, in preparation for or after a class. I think there's merit to saying, hey, if you hang out or if you show up early, I will take you through a clinic on some dry fire practices that you can do at home, right? So more like home tutelage or, tutelage before you go back home and do the dry fire in your own, make sure you're doing it right. I think that there's actually some merit to that. Hey, look, this is a 3-day course, but the third day is on you. It's going to be a little bit more one-on-one, right? We will take you guys one at a time, 2 at a time through some of these drills and through some of these practice repetitions. You'll get some live coaching out of it and make it a little bit more of an intimate engagement for those individuals that choose to participate. I think people would certainly pay for that. I mean, think about it. Bro, no bullshit. I would easily put you on par with, the Jedis of the world, the Tim Herons of the world. It's a different content in a different mechanism of delivery with a different end goal. But the quality of the instruction is certainly on par with those guys. And don't sell yourself fucking short. I know there's a lot of self-deprecating humor here, but the reality is, dude, you're a damn good instructor. I sure as shit wouldn't have been on the range with you more than once if that were anything other than true. the reality of the situation is that there's a real good opportunity there for somebody to take advantage of that instruction, and they'd be foolish not to do it.
Yep. It's just a matter of what you can get people to
Commit
like
to.
we've all seen the memes on FaceBase, right? Like the regimented dry fire training program coupled with results oriented training is the sign going straight, and then the sign going right is carbine class.
Yeah, and they're throwing rooster tails going on that on ramp, right?
Going down to the carbine class, and meanwhile I'm over here like, you fucking haven't figured out pistols yet. Like, what are we doing, right? Of course, there's values in carbine classes, right? I'm about to teach one this coming weekend. I love me a good couple rifle classes.
I'd hope so.
But defensive rifle metrics is the same fucking POI with different distances, right?
I was going to say, I think some of my most favorite things that have helped tune me up to shooting, 25-yard B8s is shooting my gun, my zero at 100 yards consistently. Sure. I mean, holding that itty bitty little, fly fleck of a target at 100 yards with my optic and hitting a consistent group does nothing but make that group at 100 yards like that at 25, at that at 15 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So really stretching the limits of what you think you can do does just helps make it even that much better. So I mean, if you can hold a group, something like Yay at at 100, why couldn't you consistently at 100? And why couldn't you do that even tighter, even better at 25, even tighter, even better at, what I mean? So I mean, that's you're right. The distances are all different, carbine between pistol, but there's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of
Literally, if you pull up the outline, I hit find replace. Anytime it said pistol, I changed it to rifle. Anytime it said gun, I left it the same. Right.
Yeah.
And anytime it says 3 yards, it's fucking 5 yards. Anytime it says 5 yards, it's 15. Anytime it says 15, it's 25. Anytime it says 25, it's 50. And anytime it says it's 50, it's 100. Like, it's the same. It's just
there's an instructor that we have on the range. If you know, I'm not going to name drop him, but what's the difference between a pistol and a rifle? I mean, there's
points of contact and terminal ballistics.
Yeah, exactly. And on as far as on the terminal on the ballistics side, there's a ton of similarities. You're just dealing with different things. But fundamentally it's all the same.
So, TJ, do you have any more questions? Because I have a wrap up that I have in front of me that I want to hit, but I want to make sure all your questions get answered. Either you guys have anything?
No, I mean, as far as questions go, bro, it's a phenomenal class. I look forward to doing it again and again and again with you. Yep. Folks, I'm gonna full disclosure, right? As Kent and I, while we are best friends, we love each other dearly. We hold each other accountable.
Oh yeah.
If we're skeptical about what one or the other might be thinking, we don't hold back on that. Of course, we're polite about it to some degree. To some degree, right? We want to keep each other honest, not crush your dreams, right? But no, look, going up to this, like, full disclosure, I was skeptical, right? I was like, hey, look, this not necessarily seems hokey, but it was more or less like, I don't know, man. Like, I've seen some shit. I've been through some shit. I just don't know. And then I saw this class, and holy shit, if it didn't keep me awake that first night I went through this, I was like, holy fuck. Like, the gravity of the situation that is presented to you in these classes is something that I think every human being that determines that they should carry a gun should go through.
Absolutely.
And that's where the consequences piece comes into it. We talked a lot about the drilling and the practice and what all these things equal up to. But one of the things that we don't really cover, because we don't want to get too much into it here, is the mindset that you come away with it for. Right. And it's a fucking gut check. I assure you, if you are in any way, shape, or form a fence sitter, I'm going to help come. I'm going to be that dickhead that comes over and shoves you onto the right side. You need to take this class. Period. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So whatever your readout is, brother, I mean, you have my full endorsement.
Thank you, man.
I'll teach this class any day of the week.
Thank you. Well, this isn't so much of a readout as a point that I wanted to make regarding the POI and regarding you. We can keep talking, but this needs to be said, and it needs to be said in regards to both of you guys and the way you AI and the way you help myself and the way you help Tim and how these things work. I want to read the most important and the thickest part of my outline. My outline pretty much just goes like idea, how to get there, idea, how to get there, idea, how to get there. And then at the bottom, there's a fucking chunk this big, and it says the following. Constant discussion of microdrill concepts, Socratic method teaching, data mining, AI feedback, macro and micro, practical application tie-ins will need to be sprinkled throughout. This level cadre student base has had a heavy dose of defensive-minded shooting instruction. The idea here is to show them what they haven't seen from the competitive community and cement the numerous foundational tie-ins between the two. The student base is serious and must see a defensive value in the topics presented in order to achieve optimal buy-in. AI responsibilities are as follows. The AI is tasked with providing microfeedback, assistance in course flow, target pasting, scorekeeping, tech management on timers, iPads, practice score, Trident. All tech resources will be preloaded on the iPad, including course outlines, stage designs, and software used. During micro stages, it is crucial that students are queued up, ready to shoot the stage for themselves. We need to keep that line cycling quickly and keep all students engaged. Score the exercise first, then cycle to the rear of the line with the student to provide micro feedback. There will be a heavy emphasis on demo assistance. The idea is to demonstrate multiple capabilities and establish credibility for both primary and assistant instructor early. No liberties will be taken due to the familiar nature of the majority of the student base. Above all, I want to represent GMD well and give these guys exactly what they would get if they were on anyone else's range. It is valid to fail in front of students as long as it results in learning and it emphasizes consequences.
Yep.
Dude, you fucking nailed that whole thing, bro. I hung a goddamn 4-paragrapher on you about all the crap that you were responsible for, and you coming off the bench after having not done this for 7 years are capable of meeting every metric that's in that little 250-word little treatise that I put out for you. Every one of them things you achieve. The people that got micro versus macro feedback got you in their left ear hearing you go, hey, man, pay attention to this, listen to that a little bit, work on this, work on that, and then heard me say it to the whole class and then reinforced you. You, without issue, were willing to demo, snap, like that. You had gravity in the situation that was tremendous from the perspective of somebody who's being you don't teach this class without failing in front of students, right? Like there's just straight up, you cannot possibly teach this class without failing something in front of students. It's not going to happen.
Right.
We're putting a dog and pony show on of like high level shooting skills across multiple different days of instruction and levels of fatigue and everything else. You're not good. If you demo this whole class, you're going to fuck something up. You just are. And the way that you approached all of that stowed your ego entirely, and where you were 20 seconds into me thinking, hey, I need TJ to go here, do this, and talk to this guy. I turn around and you were already thinking what I was thinking. It's like we finish each other's
sandwiches.
Right. You were just 100% on top of that. And Frank, you AI'd this for me for about an hour and a half or 2 hours.
I was about to say, yes. I had exactly 2 hours more experience than TJ in the defensive pistol metrics.
Right. And you were on
you
track.
Have an associate certification from VermTech.
Nice. You were on track to be that same dude, and I've seen you be that same dude for other people numerous times, right? Like this stuff, I don't come off looking like a fucking hero and a great teacher without a phenomenal person in a supporting role who's actually, to me, the most important person out there. That person has to have their head screwed on straight, has to be willing to. I even defer safety decision making to an AI. What do you think about that? Right. It's ultimately, at the end of the day, it's my responsibility. It's my range, right? But you're the dude I'm asking to make sure everybody, including me, is safe. So when we do have a little bit of a safety incident, and I come over to you and I go, I'm going to give you two options on how to handle this, and whichever you choose, we're going to move on with it. Yep. Dude, that level of trust is impossible to fake, and is really, really, really hard to earn. So this kind of stuff, and you guys, two other men have AI'd this, and they've both been phenomenally helpful in Justin and in Hirsch. I've never pulled this class off solo. I'm not saying I've never done it solo, because that's not true. I've never done it solo and had it go as well as it does with one of the four of you guys around. It never goes the same. Right. There's always a lag time and a suck time to it. If nothing else, from an outline management perspective, but certainly from the value in the student base is just not the same. They just don't get the same stuff out of it. So, be very proud of your ability to help deliver on that. And as far as, dude, seriously. And as far as the consequences and the depth of mindset and the frustration piece or whatever, I've never taught this class and had somebody not get all up in their emotions for a second.
All right.
I've never done it. I've never in the history of ever taught this class and had at least one person for a little bit not get all up in their emotions. We ask you to consider that, your no shoots just went into your children. We ask you to consider a dirty backstop in Walmart where other people are involved. We ask you to work out your willingness and tell us who you're going to fucking go die for. And we ask you to PID in some esoteric, silly little circumstances that it should be really easy to PID in, and people fuck it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that level of personal ownership is only achievable on the range when the people teaching the curriculum are bought in and tied into that same level of personal ownership. Like, if you start explaining away a bad shot or a miss or a fuck up or now you can be on the line and be like, nah, I don't know if that was me or not. Like, that's one thing, but it's another thing to like, as the AI or God forbid as the primary instructor, like, not take responsibility and ownership for those things. The only way that level of serious reverence comes across is when it comes across from the top down in the course. The guys running the course have to have that. I know a lot of good shooters who could really help me teach this very well. There aren't very many men who I know take it as seriously as I do. So from the perspective of the ability to give that to students, that's why I choose the people I choose to help with it in the ways that I choose to help them to help with it. It's not just because, oh, this guy's a kick-ass shooter and a good communicator or whatever else. It's also like, I know this actually means something to this dude. And Tim, during his wrap-up feedback comments, had a real good point about how decisions made based on emotionally driven ideas generally don't work out so well, and hopefully you can set your emotions aside and just perform.
Mm-hmm.
And really, man, I'm gonna tell you what, like, setting your emotions aside for 18 hours of this class and just performing at an instructor level takes me about a day and a half to mentally recover from. I know it's hard on you dudes. I know that you do. And this class, we could be AAR and AEDC right now and be having the same exact conversation about an AI. Like, it's people that take this as seriously as we do and who put themselves through that much mental and emotional gymnastics. fucking man, hats off to you. That's all I can say is hats off to you, because I mean, watching your buddy's little girl run around the range and realizing that she fucking listens better than 90% of the adults on the planet, while simultaneously realizing that you're looking for a visual on what it would look like if there's a little girl in front of the targets.
Right.
And now there's a fucking little girl in front of the targets, and let's talk about it. Like, hey man, sometimes you don't have to look for a tie-in or an example. Sometimes it just falls in your lap.
Right.
And when you turn around, like when the whole group is waiting for you to fucking give them this like football coach speech about consequences, and instead all you do is turn around and go, what the fuck does that look like to you? That looks like my man Frank's little girl down there by that berm playing around. Anybody here comfortable with the shot they got to make if they can sneak one into that target over there? I'm not. I know I can do it. 99 out of 100 times, I know I can do it. Does that mean I'm comfortable? No. My heart's jumping into my fucking lungs at 1,000 miles an hour if I got to make that shot. And I will make it. I absolutely will make it. But I'll tell you right now, if you think that level of visual and emotion is not different than a typical 1,000-round 2-day pistol class, where at the end you just leave with a bunch of USPAs, which, by the way, TJ has coined the term USPA, and it's now a thing. There's a bunch of USPAs with a big baseball-sized hole out of the middle of them because they got shot from 3 yards all weekend and nowhere else. And you want to talk seriousness, and you want to talk, long-lasting effects on the civilian community. I'll tell you right now, turn around and seeing homeboy's little kid doing whatever the fuck silliness she was doing as a little girl down on the berm for a second while I was teaching. That replaced a half an hour in the outline, literally. I saved the whole half an hour by not having to stand there and yap at dudes. I was just like, fuck, you see that? Can you make it? No? Shut the fuck up. Let's fix it. Like, that's all we had to say.
Yeah. So
sometimes that crap just happens organically, and that's where the tight-knit, not every place on the planet can you say some shit like that without having the guy whose kid you're talking about losing on you either. Like,
right.
That's not an easy thing to even visually accept for some people. Like, for some dudes, that would have been a fight, just me saying that. So it's not lost on me just how many liberties have to get taken and how many boundaries have to get pushed just within somebody for them to get through this. And it's not lost on me how much it takes for guys like yourselves to be there in support roles and help, because I would hate, and this is going to happen, by the way, here come rep number 6 or 7, TJ. One day you're going to find out you're the primary and I'm the secondary, and you weren't going to have been told the difference. And I'm going to tell you right now, boy, I'm going to be like, fuck, this is not easy. Because it's certainly not easy. So that's...
Better have your staple gun greased up, bitch. I'm going to make you work.
Bro. Fuck me.
Although I will say this, just all seriousness, we might be on to... Chuck might be onto something with the spray glue. Just saying.
Oh,
so much easier.
Spray glue's pretty easy. Like, no, there's a lot of refinement in the targetry. There's a lot. I don't think people realize what goes into these courses sometimes, man. The outline development,
logistically, it's crazy.
All that stuff.
You're going to ruin a lot of clothes with spray glue.
You seen my clothes?
Oh man, every time I'm in a class where we're running, like heavy on spray glue or something like that, like, or you run up and down the line, and it's bad enough I drool all over me when I eat, let alone give me a can of spray goop to just blast all over the place. Like I can't even control my own spray goop, let alone a can of it.
Oh my god!
Run towards enemy, Frank. Run towards enemy.
Well, ask my wife how that turned out. We're only expecting our third.
I was gonna make a cum joke, but you just did it for me, so thanks for that. Oh my god!
This is why we can't have nice things.
So, while we're doing this, real quick, I think it should be noted that it takes, and I'm aware of this, and I'm trying to fix it, but until I can build a trailer with USPSA and IDPA target stands and literally enclose this in one little unit and bring the whole thing with me, which I'm pretty damn close as it is. This class takes a fuckload of effort to host.
Mm-hmm.
We just need to be straight about that, right? Like, you need some, like, here, we'll go through the on-site requirements, physical, to be provided by host. Movable target stands, times 16. Barrels, times 10. Walls with window, times 2. Wall solid, times 4. Folding chairs, canopies, one-piece AC steel, if available indoor. If unusable indoor, that's okay. Tables for student gear, AV, projector, etc. Half the time you get hosted at a range and they just, like, the dude whose version of hosting you is show up, open gate, sign waivers, go home, fuck off.
Yeah, here's the berm. Help yourself.
God bless you, right? You cannot host defensive pistol metrics if you're a here's the berm host. That's not a thing that can happen, right? When Apache hosted this the first time, it resulted in Frank and crew down there building walls and shit just for me, right? Just because they love me so damn much, or because Tim told them to. I'm not sure which, but either way, like, they did it, right? Now, as a benefit, now this host now has all these other things that they wouldn't have normally had on site. So that's pretty
Other
cool.
hosts, yeah.
And now they can use it for, I don't know, Phil Groff's armed home defense class or whatever else needs walls in it. That's all good. That's all good to go around. But this is much more like hosting Tim Herron than it is like hosting Jedi. Anybody on the planet can host Jedi. If you've got a berm, you can host Jedi. Mainly because he's got a Bev, and Bev squares all the shit away, and there's never any problems because she's a goddamn lightning rod. But in terms of, like, his whole curriculum can be hosted with 2 pieces of steel, 16 target stands and uprights, some spray glue, and he's not using walls or any crazy shenanigans like that. So, it's a lot more host friendly. I'm just being honest. This is not. That said, if you'd like to host it, I'd love to talk to you about it first. I'd love to work through it with you. I'd love to make sure we can pull it off. But just not anybody can host and pull something like this off. And yes, I'm aware that's a terrible thing to say from a marketing perspective, but from a quality of course deliverables perspective, it's imperative that we be that honest, because it takes a lot of logistics to pull something like this off. And kudos to you, Frank and Tim, for being willing to freaking go through all that shenanigans, because if it wouldn't have worked out, at the end of the day, obviously you guys like yourselves, everything that happens on your range, you take full responsibility for, whether I did it or you did it or whoever did it. But most places, like if it's being hosted at Jim Smith's Gun Club and Green Mountain Defense comes out and it's a terrible experience because Jim Smith's Gun Club didn't have their shit together, what's going on the internet is Green Mountain Defense can't teach a class to save their life. Right. So that kind of stuff doesn't go unnoticed either. That's all I got. Anyway, anybody got anything else
man,
for the good and advancement of the order?
I'm good. Frank, what about you, buddy?
I'm good, and I think we hashed it out pretty well.
Man,
outstanding.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for putting all the effort you do into this kind of stuff. Students are and continue to benefit from this kind of thing. So,
absolutely, man. Yeah, absolutely. All right, folks. So that does it for us here this week. Appreciate you tuning in and joining us in the live chat. Always great to see you. Good turnout this week. Let's see here. Ad reads, right? greenmountaindefense.com/affiliate links. We strive to bring you this content and all the amazing guests that we have on the show free of charge. You're going to buy gun stuff anyway, so you might as well buy it from our affiliate links. Gives us a little bit of a kickback. Doesn't cost you anything extra and allows us to keep doing what we're doing week after week, time after time. So please feel free to visit that link to see all of our affiliates. Of course, if you're going to carry a gun, you should carry medical. And if you don't carry a gun, damn it, you should still carry medical. Head on over to Dark Angel Medical with code BB15. That's Bravo 15. will get you 15% off our checkout. But do routinely check that website, as the Dark Angel Medical team often and frequently has tremendous seasonal discounts that often beat that discount code.
Yeah.
We get nothing back from that, but carrying medical is vitally important. No pun intended. And we would appreciate, though, if you would at least enter in that the Sling'N Led podcast sent you in your order notes, just so that Carrie knows that we're showing him some love over there. greenmountaindefense.com/resources. There is an entire litany of quality material, books, white papers, videos, all sorts of great stuff that you really need to consider. Head on over and check that out if you want to learn anything to advance yourself academically in this in the spirit of responsible self-defender, or hell, just being a better human being and a better performer at the tasks and skills that you've set in front of yourself to master. Head on over and check that out. Of course, we wouldn't have had such a successful course this past couple weeks if it wasn't for our friends over at Apache Solutions. Right, so head on over and check them out on all the social medias. Hit up their website. I know that they do have all of their upcoming classes, at least for the most part, on Eventbrite. So go on over there, follow them, and subscribe, and head on over and go spend some time with Frankie over there. He gets lonely being the only nerd. So
I do.
He's not the only nerd.
Right.
Not even close.
Right. But yeah, Frank, what do you got, bud?
You done hit it. We got some classes that are coming up, some awesome workshops. October 21st, I think, is the next one. We got an Elements of Concealed workshop. Pistolcraft November 4th. Recoil Management November 6th. So, hop over on the website, ApacheNC.com, and all of our classes. And we got some new instructor bios and stuff like that put up there now. A little blog space. So we're starting to grow that a little bit. So go check us out.
Did Rodney get my instructor bio?
I am fairly certain he did. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for all that. All that is scheduled out on the website, so that's dropping weekly.
Outstanding. Kent, anything from you in closing, bud?
Nah, man. Get out there, get some training, do some things. Come see us. Appreciate you. Love you. Toodles.
All right, folks, that does it for us this week. Till we see each other again, take care of each other. God bless you all. Get out and shoot.
Yeah, like that. Why can't I say cool shit like that at the end?